afternoon and welcome everybody to today's webinar. We appreciate you and we appreciate your time. So now I want to go through kind of the tracking piece of our webinar, this whole daily screening process. Before we get too much into the meat of what the COVID ClearPass app does, I want to talk about a little bit of the inspiration behind the ClearPass app. So this all came about because our CEO was looking into ways to resolve our back to work initiatives and offering a solution that could help, Red Level's clients. So as part of that inspiration, he was speaking with one of our clients, MPS Group out of Farmington Hills. Their IT director, Brad Notestein, was also addressing a lot of these same challenges. And when he shared what he was doing with MPS Group and how he was supporting his 300 plus employees, the ClearPass app was then born from it. So that's a little background on what inspired this app. Next up, we have a little bit of information on exactly what the COVID ClearPass app is all about. So ClearPass helps organizations to get their employees back to work safely. In fact, Red Level implemented ClearPass for our own employees last week. So in following the recommendations that have been made by the CDC and the WHO, the COVID ClearPass app enables organizations to address capacity restrictions and health screening requirements when entering the workplace. Now, one thing to note with the ClearPass app, it is installed in Microsoft 365. It uses Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, and Sharepoint Online. So those are a couple of the requirements when utilizing this specific ClearPass app. Are there other customizations and custom app options available to you from Red Level? Of course there are. But as is, these are the requirements for the ClearPass app. So when we're taking a look at what ClearPass does for you and for your organization, it allows you to manage and limit the number of employees that are admitted per site location. It also allows your employees the ability to pre-register for a site visit at a specific location. For example, if I were to go into our Grand Rapids office, I could go into the ClearPass app, pre-register for my site visit so I can see who else is going to be there on the day that I want to come in, and to see if there are any capacity restrictions in terms of we're only allowing 5 or 10 or 20 employees in that office at any specific point in time. Are we already at that capacity? If so, I'm going to need to reschedule my visit to the Grand Rapids office so that we can maintain proper social distancing. So it also allows you to see, like I said, who else is there at that site location, and then it allows you to both check in and check out of a site location, and you can see what your status is within the app. So first up, in terms of pre-registering for an office visit, you can have a number of different site locations that you're checking in for a specific date, checking out those maximum capacity numbers, how many are available, how many people are pre-registered, and your registration status. Next up, we have the self-health declaration form. Now this allows you to go in and complete a self-health declaration form for either yourself or a guest that might be coming into the office to visit with you. So for example, Red Level is an IT service provider. We have a lot of meetings with other partners that we work with, whether it's Dell or Microsoft, and we need to be able to track all of those guests that are also coming into our offices. So through this form, we're able to complete the name, say whether or not we're filling it out for ourselves or for a guest, We've actually added, based on feedback, a specific temperature based on the CDC guidelines of 100.4 degrees, as well as enabled a field for the employee or the guest to register their temperature at check-in while they're coming into the office. Next up, so ClearPass sends a series of emails, so that way the employee knows whether or not their site visit reservation has been approved, and then it also notifies the proper human resources or site administrator whether or not an employee or a guest has failed that self-health screening. So for example, if somebody answers yes to one of the screening questions, that they've had a temperature, or that they've traveled in the last 14 days, or that they have had any symptoms or been in contact with somebody that has tested positive for COVID-19 in the last 14 days, that will raise a red flag and tell the person or the employee or the guest that they are not allowed to enter into that site. And that also notifies the human resources or site administrator representative of that person's status, so that tracking can begin. Another thing that is available within the app, but there is a caveat to it, it does require one premium licensed administrator to enable push notifications directly out of Power Apps. But it is available, and it is something that can be set up after your initial installation. Next up, and this is something that was brought up in Rebecca and Aaron's portion of the presentation, is you can share company-related news and information within the app. So for things like distributing your preparedness plan, this might be a good area to do so. And you can also, you have two areas where you can put in information. You have your area for preventing the spread of COVID-19, as well as your company news section, either of which can be updated and changed, as I'll show when we go through the back end process. Next up, COVID ClearPass also has the ability to report out into Power BI dashboards. One slight caveat to that is that you do need to have a Power BI Pro license for anybody that wants to share or view the Power BI dashboards. But it does allow you to have a very good, easy visibility into everything that is coming in through your ClearPass application. These Power BI dashboards need to be monitored, and you need to make sure that only the people with proper security clearance can view and see these, as it will dig into some of the employees' information in terms of who has completed a form, how many people have answered yes or no to a specific question with that, and then into site location information and specific employee names. So we've gotten a lot of questions on what the process is for downloading the COVID ClearPass app. So first of all, you're going to register for your download if you haven't already. Go to redlevelgroup.com/ClearPass. Once you've done that and completed the form, you will receive an email with a link to the download, or with a link to download the ClearPass app packet, as well as a link to our installation instructions, our installation video, and the email support address. So for some of our clients and for some of the organizations that we've been talking to, they are needing some additional help and support. So for any of the frequently asked questions or general questions about ClearPass, we have the ability to do free email support, and you will get that email, the support email, when you register for your download. For anything above and beyond that, say you wanted to customize the app with your colors or your logo, we can do that for our standard support option of $500. If you wanted to do any additional customizations, say you wanted to change a question, that would require a little bit more custom coding on our side of it. We can do that with our plus support option for $1,500. Anything above and beyond that, we would need to have a very good conversation with you to understand exactly what your needs are, and then we will be able to come up with a plan for everything that you might need to make sure that the app fits your needs. So next up, I want to go into a quick demo of the application, so that way you can see exactly all that the app has to offer. So if you just give me one moment to switch on over into my application. So this is the ClearPass app. Now, the ClearPass app is run through Microsoft Power Apps. And with that, it can be downloaded onto an employee's phone. It can be added to potentially a kiosk station, and it can be utilized through a web browser. I am currently showing you the web browser version, as it gives us the best resolution in terms of displaying the demonstration to a lot of people at one time. Now, one of the key features here is being able to see who has checked in, or to be able to see your check-ins and to be able to pre-register for your visit. So we're going to start with the pre-registration process. So if you were to pre-register for a site visit, you would simply click on the pre-register button, specify which location you would like to go to, on what day you would like to go to the office. I'm going to go to the office tomorrow. Check OK, and then go to continue. Now it's going to go through and it's going to show me what the max capacity of that site is, how many site visits are available, whether or not there's a waiting list, and those that are pre-registered. And if there are any people pre-registered, it will give me a list of those people that are pre-registered. So in the event that I needed to have a meeting with somebody face-to-face at the office, I would be able to know who was going to be in that office. So we go ahead and click register for a visit, and it shows me that my status has been approved. So I am good to go to the office tomorrow. And then it adds my name to the list of pre-registered people to join the office. So next up, if I want to check into the office. Now, one note here. It is not a requirement to pre-register to be in an office in order to be able to check in. You can come to the office and check into the office at that time. So if I were to check into the office, I show which location I'm going to be going to. It tells me what the max capacity and how many positions are available at that office. Select continue. I can select whether or not I am entering this on behalf of another person, or if this is going to be for myself or another person. So I will add in my information. Asks me if I have any flu-like symptoms. It has that specific question around that 100.4 fever. I have not. I will take my temperature when I am checking in. My current temperature is 98.7. And then, have I been in close contact with anybody in the last 14 days that has been diagnosed with COVID-19? No, I have not. And have I traveled in the last 14? No, I have not. I hit submit. And it will let me know I've got that green check. I am good to go and I am checked in. Now, some organizations are having employees show this checked in screen upon their arrival so that they know that they are checked in and good to go. Now, some of the other features, it shows me that I am currently checked in, what time I checked in, and what location I am checked in to. Now, I can add a friend if I want to have somebody come into the office with me. So let's say I have a guest coming and I need to add them in. Jane Doe is feeling just fine, and she has a regular temperature. has not been in close contact with anybody, and has not traveled. So we hit that, hit submit. Now Jane Doe is available and ready to come into the office as well. And so now it shows that I have checked in Jane Doe. Now with this, the capacity at the office will have gone down by 2 because we have 2 people checked into the office. What I can do is I can hit the checkout button, and let's say my meeting with Jane Doe is over and Jane has now left the office. I check her out of the office, and that will now allow for another person to be able to enter while maintaining our site location capacity. Another area of information here in the app is you're going to have the ability to support company news. So this is a good area where you would be able to distribute your preparedness plan and your company news around how you're handling COVID-19 and back to work information. You can also add in your company's organization of what you're doing to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. So that's a quick tour of what the app looks like, how the app works, and how your users would interface with it. Next up, we're going to take a look at the behind the scenes. So this would be for your site administrators. So this goes into the back end of SharePoint. And within this area, this is where you're going to set up your separate SharePoint lists that help to run the app. You're going to set up your company sites. You're going to set up your company news. And then you'll also set up your prevention opportunities and prevention options that you are enabling within your organization. And in here, it allows you to do some quick edits. So if you needed to make an update to the capacity available at any given office, you can do it through here. It shows you who your site administrator is for it. And then you just, after you make your edits, just hit exit. Same thing with the company news. This is where you can easily go in and update what the company news is, what you have going on, and what the title of your article may be. Now, this is the area where, again, you're going to need to make sure that your employees who have access to this are of the proper security protocols, because in here, when you're getting into this self-declaration form list, you're going to need to make sure that only people with proper clearance can see this information. Because as you can see, the person who fills it out, the site name, the date, and what they answered with in terms of those symptom questions will be added in here. And we want to make sure that that is only accessed by proper individuals. Now, for surfacing this information within Power BI, one note to this, as you are setting up the ClearPass app, in order to generate data here within your Power BI dashboard, you need to make sure to have submitted at least one site visit self-health declaration in order to populate data in this view. So with that said, the Power BI dashboard gives you information based on the site, based on the questions that you have asked within the app, whether or not they're entering information on behalf of another person, how many forms have been submitted on any given day. And then you can even go in here and hit the filter button so you can filter this out based on which site you want to look at. So if you wanted to just look at the Novi office, that would tell you that 11 or 12 forms have been submitted for the Novi office. If you want to see how many have been submitted for everywhere, you have a total of 34 forms. Another area that you can drill into is specific site activity. Again, this has employee names and dates, and you want to make sure that you are making that only the proper personnel have access to this, because it will show whether or not they triggered an alert based on their self-health form. So you can dig in here into specific site locations. So this is, again, the Novi office, whether or not they have selected or whether or not they have triggered an alert, and how and who, what day and what time those alerts were created on. So that is a quick trip through the COVID ClearPass app. I am going to open it up to questions now. All questions should come in through the Q&A panel. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in there. It looks like we already have quite a few questions that have come in. So first question, and I do have Jack Lepan on here with me, who is our Director of Products, that will definitely be able to help me, as well as Aaron and Rebecca are still on the line to answer any of your employment law questions. So my first question up, Jack, this is potentially for you. There are issues with privacy and data collection with the Google app. What makes this app different and safe for our employees to use?
Yes, so there are a lot of different apps out there that are doing contact tracing. The Google app, the app that's being developed by Apple, that's really for health professionals to be able to contact individuals who are near somebody that have tested positive. So I can see why you would have some concerns about that data. The difference here is this is about managing your workforce and the re-entry into your office space or plant floor. So that's the key difference. This isn't about contact tracing and reporting it to health professionals.
Okay. Next question up, Jack, again, this is probably for you. Can this app be linked to a medical insurance provider?
Well, the beauty of technology allows us to accomplish these types of things, but this is not something that is, out of the box. Can it be done? We'd certainly have to learn a little bit more about the information you're trying to pull in, but my guess is yes. I haven't run across anything that we haven't been able to connect to.
Okay, so then that can tie into the next question. With your app, does it have to tie into a door system if they're just looking for the temperature and health screening?
It doesn't have to. It does not tie into the door system. The temperature would be a manual process and a manual entry, the way that the app is currently set up.
Okay. Next up, we have, let's see. I am a sole proprietor and have office space. Do I have to create an employee plan and implement the other accommodations if I am the only person who is ever here? So Rebecca and Aaron, that sounds like a question for you.
If you don't have any employees and you are the only person reporting on site, then you likely do not need one. It's designed for active work sites that have staff and have visitors. If you have visitors to your office, then you should have a plan in place. But if it is literally just you in the office at all times, I don't think you need a plan.
Thank you, Rebecca. So the next, we just want to see that everyone logged in and got screened and has a green light. What is the most effective way to do that through the app? So Jack, would that be through the, you could do that through a couple of different ways. You can do it through the Sharepoint list, correct? And then you could also surface that through the Power BI dashboard?
Yeah, either way. It's pretty straightforward if you want to see who has been cleared for a particular day. You can do that even without the Power BI dashboard.
Okay. So next up is another question for Erin and Rebecca. Is the face shield rule not required for manufacturing? And then is there a definition of domestic travel for distance or interstate?
Yes, so
Hey, Megan.
manufacturing. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Rebecca. No, go ahead.
Okay, so manufacturing is requiring the use of face shields if you have employees who consistently maintain fewer than 3 feet in distance. And then it's advised that you have employees wear masks if they have fewer than 6 feet in distance. And then we are recommending that even if your employees are able to maintain social distancing, that you also require the mask. In terms of domestic travel, the definition is coming from county public health orders, so that could be different depending on the county in which your business is located. But what Oakland County, Washtenaw County have done is they've said domestic travel is travel outside of the state of Michigan. There is an exclusion, though, if you are commuting to a work location that is outside of the state.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much for that. The definition of domestic. We have had quite a few questions on that. So the next question is, will the app be usable by employers in New York? Jack, I believe that's a resounding yes, correct?
Yes, absolutely. This is intended for any organization in the United States.
Okay. Next up, I missed the training module requirement issued through the US CDC. Could you reference that again? Rebecca or Erin, do you have that readily available?
Yep, so on the CDC website, they have posters. And so the specific posters that we use talk about how to properly wear, take on and off the face coverings. They also talk about the transmission of the disease and how long it can stay on various surfaces. And so those are posters that are on the CDC website. We incorporated them into our plan as a means of providing the training that is required for manufacturing industries.
And we will also send out the slide deck after our presentation so that anybody that needs to reference those links can do so easily. Next question again for Rebecca and Erin. When it is summer vacation from school, does the executive order for caring for kids still apply?
Well,
Yes,
the answer to that is yes. Yeah. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Yep. So it depends whether or not the school is closed because of COVID. And so if you have a typical daycare or summer camp, and that is the childcare that you would have been using for your children, and it is closed due to COVID-19 and other government directives, then yes, the availability of leave under the Expanded Family Medical Leave Act and likely under the Unemployment Insurance Agency to maintain unemployment benefits is going to still apply.
Okay, that's great to know. Another question for Rebecca and Erin. Does FFCRA only apply to those organizations with more than 500 employees?
Actually, it's the opposite. So it applies to employers with less than 500 employees, and there are exceptions, potential exceptions for employers with fewer than 50.
Okay. Thank you very much, Erin. Next question for Jack. Power BI, SharePoint, etc. license, are Power BI, SharePoint, and other licenses required for each reporting employee?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm going to refer to that as the Power Platform, so I don't have to repeat all of that. Thank you for doing that, Megan. But in terms of licensing, if you have Microsoft Business or Enterprise 365, formerly known as Office 365, you're covered, right? So there's no additional cost except for those that need to view the Power BI dashboard. So those are typically your HR folks or risk management. If you don't have Microsoft 365 or you don't have everybody licensed, what some of our clients are doing, particularly in the manufacturing space, is they have somebody that is checking people in with their license, and the app will work the same way. Or they have a kiosk. They create one license, and people can use a laptop or an iPad or whatever type of device that you put at the front door, and people can check in that way. So it doesn't require all of your users to have that. Now, if you don't have any of those licensing, we can work with you and figure out what the best solution for you would be. It's pretty inexpensive to get started. Microsoft is even offering a free trial of Microsoft 365 because of COVID for like up to 6 months. So there's a lot of options out there for you, and we'd be happy to work with you on that.
Okay, thanks, Jack. And that actually takes care of another one of the questions that came in. Does the person filling out the questions on the app need to have an Office 365 mailbox, as most of our staff do not have mailboxes in the cloud yet?
Well, it goes back to the thought around, you can have somebody else check in, but it does require, in order to get communications out from that device, it is using Office 365 mail. So we could, have further discussion about that and how that might work for you.
Okay. Now this is a question again for Jack, specifically around the use of the ClearPass app. So the ClearPass app cannot be used if all 5 of those apps or suites are not installed.
Well, if you have Office 365 or Microsoft 365, you have that by default. And there's a couple different ways that the app can be deployed to users. One could be by having the Power app on the mobile device, or you can access it through a web browser. And the other thing that we're doing internally, and you could do this too, is to add this app right into Microsoft Teams if you're using that. So it just becomes part of the navigation, or you could actually create a separate team and add it as a tab. So a lot of flexibility in terms of deployment.
Absolutely. Next up, if people are going to a site daily, do they have to pre-register for every day? So yeah. The short answer is you should. Do you have to? No, but you definitely have to do the self-health evaluation daily prior to entering the site. Correct, Jack?
Yeah, and I think really probably where that question is coming from is, if I know I'm going to be in the office every day this week, do I have to pre-register? So I still need to fill out the health declaration. Currently, you do have to pre-register for every day, but you can check in without pre-registering. But if you wanted to eliminate that hassle of pre-registering, I'm sure that there's something that we could do to modify that to help you with that process. But currently, yes, you do have to.
Okay. Another licensing question. Do we have to be licensed with Power BI and SharePoint in order to use the ClearPass app?
Power BI, you don't have to use the Power BI dashboard. You can get a lot of the data right inside of SharePoint. If you're familiar with Excel, it's going to have the same type of functionality. You can even export it if you need to. Power BI is intended to give you a high-level overview and some, quick glance at data. And there's a lot more that you can do with it than what's been presented today. But typically, that's just for the people that need to see the data. Not everybody in the organization needs the Power BI license.
Okay. Another question for you, Jack. Can the questionnaire be customized by the employer?
Yes. You can. Once you download the app is yours. We're giving it away for free. And once you have it, you can do whatever you want with it. Now, if you want to stay with our updates, and we do provide updates to the application, but yes, you are free to do what you want with the app.
Okay. Another question, can you turn off the field for entering the temperature?
Well, we just got done adding that because we had such a big request, but certainly it could be turned off.
Okay. Let's see the next question. Will there be ongoing updates to the app to download?
Yes, we're making updates quite often as we learn about different scenarios and continuing to improve the product for our clients. But the temperature is a great example. We had so many people requesting temperature, and we didn't feel right about just charging everybody customization for it. So the organization decided, let's just add it in as a feature, and so we don't have to charge our clients or the new organizations we've been engaged with.
Great. So next up, we are a manufacturing facility with hourly people who are not in our IT system, aka Azure AD. Is there a way to track those people with this app using the guest registration, or wouldn't this app be a solution for that side of our company?
Yeah, that's been a pretty common question, and I think the solution there is to either have somebody on site to check them in, or to have a kiosk solution where people can just come in and do the self-health declaration the day of.
Okay, our next question. Can we customize the app on our own?
Yes, you can. That's part of the reason why we built it in the Power Platform, because it's a very versatile tool, and you don't have to be an app developer necessarily. You need to know what you're doing a little bit here, but we wanted to give you that flexibility and to show you what the power of the platform is for those of you that already have Microsoft 365. And I think the other key here is that the data stays in your environment. Red Level is not hosting it. We don't have access to your data. It's in your environment. You're protecting it. And we know that Microsoft does have compliance and standards around HIPAA, so you're protected there.
Okay, the next question is asking for a little bit of clarity again around, if I pre-register, do I have to check in, or can I skip the pre-registration and just check in? And the answer is you should pre-register to help with site capacity limits, but you do need to check in and fill out the self-health questionnaire on a daily basis, correct?
Right. Yes, you do need to do the check-in on a daily basis.
Okay. And then next question, is this app being developed only for Michigan? And the answer is no, this is available for anybody in the United States. And another follow-up question, is there a limit to the number of locations that can be added to the app?
Yeah, so in terms of the number of sites that can be added, the number of sites is 2,000. It's a limitation of Power Apps, but 2,000 sites covers, I would say, most organizations.
Okay, the next question is, if you check in and answer to any of the questions that might, so if you check in and answer any of the questions which would not approve you to go into the office, how does the app respond?
It provides you a warning, you being the user, that you cannot access that site. and the email communication is then sent off to the site administrator, HR, to let them know that somebody filled out the self-declaration, as Megan is showing here.
And so as a result, this then triggers the email to your HR or your site administrator and also allows an instant notification to yourself through the app that you have been denied access to the site for that day.
And it releases your space if you pre-registered as well.
Okay. Next question is, how quickly can this be implemented?
You know, it just depends if you need customizations, but if you're asking if, you know, how long would it take if I did this on my own? You know, we have a very clear manual as well as a video that provides step-by-step instructions. You could probably do it in about an hour.
Okay. Another question, sorry if I missed this, but what is the cost of the app? This is my favorite question. The app as is completely free. Should you need any types of customizations, we have a couple of different support packages where if you needed to brand it, there's one package for that. If you needed to make an update to a question, include some additional branding, there's another package for that. Or if you needed to completely customize it, there is a completely separate package for that. A question around, does the collection of these data points for employees adhere to privacy regulations such as CCPA and GDPR?
Well, I'm not going to pretend that I know the answer to that one, but what I do know is the data lives in your environment, in your SharePoint environment, and I know that Microsoft has a lot of compliance, probably more than any other cloud provider, and we can check into that. And you know, if you want to reach out to me or Megan directly, we can work through that question with you.
Absolutely. Next question. So would each employee have to download this app on their phone?
So the what they would download is the Power Apps app, and with that, the application would be presented. You can create a shortcut, say like on your mobile device. You know, just pin it to your screen so that you just click on ClearPass and it opens up. You can put it inside of Microsoft Teams. If you have a deployment, like a mobile device management deployment tool, you could also just push it out that way, so it shows up on mobile devices. Okay.
Another question, when would you instruct employees to fill out the check-in? In their car, at home before they leave? This could be really a question for both Jack and for either Rebecca or Aaron based on employment law.
Yeah, personally, I would do it before. I don't want to drive to the office and know I can't get in.
So
Rebecca, what's your perspective?
Yeah, from an employment law perspective, we are worried about a wage and hour claim under the Fair Labor Standards Act. And so time spent filling out the daily health questionnaire is compensable. And so you do need to pay your non-exempt hourly employees for the time it takes. And it may sound like very little time at first, but if you have 500 employees who are spending 2 minutes every day for the length of, you know, the questionnaire requirements, you know, which could be months, you know, until we know when the pandemic is going to be over, that adds up very quickly. And so you want to structure it in a way that you know your employees are being paid for the time it takes to fill it out. So that could be after they clock in. It could be that the app shuts off or starts at a specific time, knowing that employees are paid for any time thereafter. And so I think that that would be a very good point of customization, both with Red Level and with council.
Thank you. Next question, if you have a multi-floor facility, can you add floors and max capacities?
Yes, you can. The way that you would set it up when you created a site, you could give it the name of the building dash floor, and you can have up to 2,000. We don't have anything that currently rolls floors up into the say building, for example, but you can structure it in the way that I just mentioned.
Okay. The next question, does this app run on both SharePoint on-prem as well as SharePoint in the cloud?
This application is designed to run in Office 365. Could it run on-prem? I would have to understand, which version of SharePoint you're running. There's a lot of considerations there.
Okay. Another question, all of our employees do not have access to our Office 365 plan. Will they still be able to download the app on their phones?
If they don't have access to Office 365, they will not be able.
Their employees are licensed with
Right.
Office 365.
Right, so they won't be able to download it individually. They have to have a license to get to the app, or you have to do a kiosk, like we mentioned earlier.
Okay. And then a follow-up question to, can this be used in New York? So to confirm, this is usable / follows the guidelines for all of the United States, but not necessarily of other countries.
Yeah, I'm not that familiar with the other countries, so I'd have to dig into that a little bit.
So we would be able to follow up on that question.
Yep.
A question around, can we share the ClearPass demo? Yes, we will send out the recording of this presentation probably early tomorrow morning. Then a labor law question. So for Rebecca or for Aaron, what is the determination of exemptions for under 50 employees, and how do I know if my company qualifies?
Okay, so if you have fewer than 50 employees, you may be exempt from providing the expanded family medical leave, and so that's the leave to care for your children who are under the age of 18 and whose school or childcare provider is closed. So to qualify for the exemption, you need to be able to assert that providing the paid leave would jeopardize the viability of your company. And so the DOL has released some guidance as to what qualifies as jeopardizing the viability. And essentially, you have to assert that paying the leave would bring you to bankruptcy or close to bankruptcy, or that you have a small office, and so each employee, if you lost any employee for the 12 weeks on the family medical leave, that you are unable to operate without that individual. And so this isn't something that you file a request for or receive approval with from the DOL. What you do is maintain documentation internally from a chief operating officer that explains how you think your company would be jeopardized by providing the leave. And then you wait for an employee to submit a request, and then you respond to that request, denying the request and saying that you believe that you qualify for the small business exemption.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. Next question. Jack, this one is for you. I believe you still need to purchase the Power Apps license for each user as a potential $10 a month add-on to existing Office 365 license. Please confirm.
If you already have Microsoft 365, then you do not need additional pricing. The only exception there is if you wanted to send push alerts, there would be you would need one premium connector for the admin to set up those push alerts. But if you have Microsoft 365, you do not need additional licensing.
Okay. Another question. We are a single site and Kiosk likely makes the most sense. Can the pre-registration be disabled in a Kiosk install? That
would be something, you know, that we could customize for you, or if you are familiar with the platform, you could take that out, but it's something that could be customized, yes.
Okay. One shortcoming we are experiencing with our current pre-admittance questionnaire is that people are completing it hours/days before. Can we put a timestamp or limit on when the request is processed on the app?
Yes, so by default, when you fill out the self-declaration form, it's for the day of, you can't change the date or the time. It's timestamped automatically.
Correct. And that is seen through this process. So right here, it automatically stamps the date and the time that I am completing the form, and I cannot make changes to this at all. So automatically timestamped so that it has to be within the same day that I am checking in. And then one last question. Wow. One last question. Where do we go to download the app? And that is redlevelgroup.com/ClearPass. And that's where you will be able to register for your download, and you will receive an email after you complete the registration page so that we can send you the information packet that you need to download from GitHub, as well as our installation manual and our installation video. With all of that said, I would like to again thank Erin Graves and Rebecca Segay-Scribuja from Bodman, as well as Jack LeBan, our Red Level Director of Products, for their time today, and all of you for your time. We look forward to speaking with you soon and hope that everybody has a great day.